9 life skills they don't teach in school. Skills for which at 20 years old children will say only one thing: thank you. Unfortunately, like all my peers, I ended up in a school program that created the illusion that our world would always remain the same. And if anything changes, it's fashion. We were taught those subjects and skills that were necessary for the professions that existed in the 80s of the last century. As you understand, for the 2000s, this is already the last century. It seemed like we were really being prepared for a new life. No one could even imagine how much the world would change in 20 years. Imagine the early 1980s. Personal computers had just been invented. Faxes were considered the most advanced means of communication, and science fiction writers were writing about the internet as we know it in their works. We could not even imagine what the coming world was preparing for us. And this is not the saddest thing. We still cannot imagine it, even after several decades. And we never can. Our world is changing so fast. Therefore, predicting the future and teaching children at school in accordance with our predictions is far from the wisest decision. How then can we prepare our children for life in a rapidly changing world? Very simple. Teach them to quickly adapt to change. That is, prepare for absolutely everything, and not for something specific. Let's talk about the life skills that children should be taught to prepare them for life in such a changing future. 1. Ask questions. What is our goal in teaching children? First of all, so that they learn to independently acquire knowledge, search for information, check it, and come to certain conclusions. At the same time, we do not teach them anything ready. Because if they succeed, then in the future we will not have to teach them anything. They can handle it themselves. And the very first step in this direction is to learn how to ask questions. Fortunately, in children, this happens naturally and is not difficult. Unlike us adults, who are often afraid to look stupid and cling to their old ideas and knowledge like ticks. Accordingly, we can only encourage children to ask questions and do so as often as possible. The best way to teach them this art is to simulate situations. For example, you are confronting your child with something new and incomprehensible. Ask questions and explore all possible answers. When a son or daughter asks questions, always praise and encourage, and do not dismiss, and even more so, do not ridicule. You have no idea how many adults kill the desire to ask something in their children. 2. Solve problems. If a child learns the art of problem solving, he will enjoy any profession in any industry, even one that doesn't exist today. A new job always scares people, although when you think about it, it's just another problem that just needs to be solved. New skills and abilities, new environment, new conditions, all these are just new problems to be solved. Teach your children to solve problems by simulating different situations. Come to some common denominator. After that, offer to solve some problem for the baby yourself. Start with the simplest ones, and gradually move on to the more complex ones. Do not immediately run to solve problems instead of the child. Let him fiddle with them for days, or even months, trying different options. You have no idea how happy he will be when he finally finds a solution. Be sure to compliment him. Over time, he will develop a strong confidence in his ability to solve problems. Nothing will be impossible for him. Read more. Are your kids not the most popular at school? Scientists say parents can breathe a sigh of relief. 3. Work on projects. As an online entrepreneur, I know very well that my job is a series of very different projects. Sometimes they are related, sometimes completely different, sometimes large, sometimes very tiny. As a rule, they represent a whole group of small projects. Also, I am sure that there is no such project that I would not be able to complete. After all, there are hundreds of successfully completed ones, which I am really proud of. For example, this material is already a project. The published book is also a successful project. Selling a book is another project. Work on projects with your child. Let him learn how to work in a team. Over time, invite him to do something on his own, more and more each time. After a while, he will feel so confident that he can safely take on any project. In this way, his training will become just a series of projects. 4. Work with passion. Do you know what drives me when I go to my goal? No, not self-discipline and willpower, and not extrinsic motivation, and not a dream of awards or money. Exceptional passion. Help your child find what interests him the most. Help him have fun, work on what he is really interested in. In other words, light the fire in him. Don't criticize. Do not make fun of his interests. This is the only way to inspire and encourage the child. And do not turn everything into a joke or a farce. The kid, first of all, should be interested. He must also know that his work will be of benefit. 5. Be self-reliant and independent. Children must be taught something very important: to do everything on their own, to be able to insist on their own, not to depend on someone else's opinion or assessment. Of course, it doesn't come right away, but over time completely. Gradually encourage your child to do the tasks completely on their own. Show how they do it by creating different situations. First help, then do it less and less. Our task is to reach the level when the child will confidently work on something independently, make mistakes and correct them. As soon as children learn to be independent, they will understand that they do not need a teacher, parents, or boss to tell them what to do and how to do it. Only in this way will children grow up as free people, able to manage themselves and decide in which direction to move in order to achieve their goal. See also, the more you hug your children, the smarter they become. 6. Be happy and self-sufficient. Many parents indulge and fulfill the desires of their children, constantly patronize them. In this way, adults send a signal: baby, you can only be happy by relying on someone. As a result, a child grows up who has no idea how to make himself happy. Therefore, he immediately has a girlfriend, boyfriend, and friends. If that doesn't work out, he finds happiness and solace in shopping, food, video games, social media, and more. But if a child knows from an early age that he can be happy on his own, playing, reading, or even just dreaming, then he acquires one of the most valuable skills for life. Let your children be themselves from a very early age. Get rid of overprotection. Set a time, for example, in the evening, when all family members spend time alone. 7. The ability to empathize. This skill is one of the most important. First of all, this is necessary so that we can work successfully and effectively in a team, with other people. Also to take care of others, to find happiness in making others happy. Compassion can be learned. To do this, it is necessary to explain to the child how others feel, how they need our support and help. By the way, your example is also important. Show compassion for your baby and other people. Ask him how he feels, what he would like, how to help him. In each case, try to show how you can relieve the suffering of others, bring joy and happiness to someone. Emphasize that he will be happier as a result. 8. Have tolerance. As a rule, we grow up in some kind of environment where everyone looks at the world in approximately the same way. Therefore, when we come into contact with those who are different from us, it causes shock, fear, irritation, and rejection. Explain to the child from early childhood that all people are very different. They differ in race, sexual orientation, and psychological, and even mental, characteristics. Emphasize that the difference is not only normal, but large. This is what makes our life so beautiful. 9. Don't be afraid of change and change. I am more than sure that this skill will become defining when our children grow up. After all, the world is changing at a breakneck pace. Therefore, skills such as the ability to accept changes and do it instantly, to cope with new challenges, to navigate in the flow of everything new,